Have you ever wondered what happens when rules from different levels of government seem to clash, especially when one of them feels like it is from a different era? It is a common question that can make understanding our legal system feel a bit like a historical puzzle. Yes, absolutely, an old federal law can indeed supersede state rules, thanks to a fundamental principle in the United States legal system known as federal supremacy. This means that when there is a direct conflict between a valid federal law and a state law, the federal law generally takes precedence. The core reason behind this is the Supremacy Clause, which is found in Article 6 of the United States Constitution. This clause establishes that the Constitution and federal laws made pursuant to it are the supreme law of the land. Therefore, state laws that contradict or interfere with valid federal laws are considered unenforceable. This principle ensures a unified legal framework across the nation, preventing individual states from undermining national policies or statutes. Understanding this principle is crucial, but it is also important to recognize that it is not always a simple open and shut case. When considering whether a federal law overrides a state law, courts will often look at whether Congress intended to preempt state law on a particular subject. This can happen in a few ways. Express preemption, where a federal law explicitly states it overrides state law. Implied preemption, where federal law is so pervasive that it leaves no room for states to supplement it. Or conflict preemption, where it is impossible to comply with both federal and state laws, or the state law acts as an obstacle to the objectives of the federal law. For example, you might see this play out with environmental regulations where federal standards often set a baseline, but states might be allowed to enact stricter rules. However, if a state tried to implement a weaker standard than a federal minimum, the federal law would typically prevail. Another fascinating aspect is the idea of dormant commerce clause challenges, where state laws that unduly burden interstate commerce, even without a directly conflicting federal statute, can be struck down. Ultimately, the relationship between federal and state laws is a dynamic and often complex interplay, but the principle of federal supremacy provides a clear hierarchy. Knowing this helps you understand why certain national standards apply everywhere, regardless of individual state preferences, and how our government strives for a consistent rule of law, even when dealing with statutes that have stood the test of time.